I just want to move on to, if we can, because cover it off quickly. Mourinho sacking, and young Ryan Mason, who's taken over for the rest of the season. There's been some rumours that Levy spoke to him about the European Super League, and Jose Mourinho didn't think it was a good idea and got the tin tack because of it. Whether that's true, we don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence with the timing. But what's your thoughts on it?
That first bit is nonsense. That first bit's got to be nonsense. If a chairman comes to me, I'll just say, like, I'm employed by you and the owner. What's his name? Lewis, isn't it?
Yeah,
Joe Lewis,
Lewis,
floating around the Caribbean in his yacht. And I'm employed by you and Joe Lewis and the football club, right? And my remit is to work with the players to improve them and improve the team and try and win some silverware. So I don't care if we're playing in the Lordship Lane Sunday League or a European Super League. That's my, as far as I'm concerned, that's my job. So I think hearsay about him giving an opinion and standing his ground, that I don't think Jose would do that. No. He might do it on the telly as a pundit, but I don't think he'd do it as a manager. I think he's too cute for that.
Although Klopp have come out and Guardiola have come out and said they don't want it, but then again they haven't got sacked. So
yeah, listen, Guardiola is arguably the best coach in Europe. He made his reputation working with a whole generation of players through every age group at Barcelona, and coached them to play. And he had magnificent players who he could trust, who trusted him. And they were getting spankings. And apparently Iniesta went to him. I think it was Iniesta, and he said, don't worry, boss. It will come right. You'll see. It will come right, and we'll go on to big things. Obviously paraphrasing. And then that's exactly what happened.
They probably said it in Spanish, to be fair, but yeah.
Probably said it in Spanish, and they've got a name for him. They've got a name for him, haven't they? Where they call them, they've got respect for their coaches, like the others. They call them a mister or something like that. And he said, "Don't worry, mister, it will come right. And when it does, we'll go on to great things." And that's exactly what happened. So he's talking from a position of, like, you go from strength to strength. If you cherry pick your jobs, well, there's 2 teams in Germany that can win something, and he went to the one that wins most, and but unfortunately failed at the European Cup level. And he's done the same with City thus far.
Yeah. Do you think Mourinho's finished?
Do I think he's finished what, as a manager?
Yeah. As a top-level manager, elite-level manager.
There's 2 ways of looking at this.
You should be a politician, John.
Well, no, there's 2 ways of looking at it, in the respect that I can see a lot where he's coming from. But at the end of the day, he knew what he was taking on when he took it on. So it's a win-win. He gets and he's 17 months into his contract. He gets another 18 million. Or someone
another payout. You put it on Twitter, didn't you? Another payout.
Another payout for like another reward for failure. Another payout. Someone said his payouts come to just under 100 million. All the clubs that he's been at: Chelsea twice, Man United, Spurs, someone else, Madrid. Yeah. Madrid. No, I think Inter Milan. They won the European Cup as his contract came to an end.
Wow.
It's Madrid, Chelsea twice, Man United, now Spurs. Right, so it's knocking on the door of 100 million for, like, them. Anyway, that's if they're right. But the bottom line is, I just don't think that he's moved with the times politically, and I've got a lot of time for that. He's called out. Why are you not able to call out players? What and what's the biggest crime he's committed? Right? Because and
lose the dressing room.
Well, look, who's he losing? Because at the end of the day, I would hazard a guess, and I would have strong money on it, and I'm not a gambling man, that some of the signings that have been made, all the signings that have been made, a few of the signings that have been made are not his signings. You understand? So they've lumped him with a player, and he's looked at him and he's gone, or they might have come through the ranks in one case. And at the start, he burst on the scene. You think, fucking hell, it's going to take some getting past this boy. I don't know. I forgot what one it is. Might be, I don't know, it's Aurier. You look at him, he's built like a cruiserweight boxer. He runs like an Olympic sprinter. He's as powerful as like a super ninja athlete turtle, right? And like people are beating him for fun. And he's done about what side to mark on. And he goes through the back of people when they're going nowhere. He gives unnecessary free kicks away. He can't keep his hands to himself in the penalty area. So Jose's perfectly entitled to say, what the fuck? Who's taught him? I've been saying it for at least a decade, because maybe it's part of the, the Jolly Green Giant of envy. You know what I mean? Where I've been out the game and I'm thinking, who's fucking taught them? I saw a game at the weekend and I said, I was watching all the football at the weekend on Match of the Day 2. But before that, I watched the English Football League on Quest. And I thought, you know what, I'm watching, I put it on Twitter, there's some magnificent athletes on here. Football IQ? Nah. Football intelligence? Nah. Does it look like they've been coached? Nah. Is their decision making any good? Nah. So you might as well just go and get people who can like run 13 kilometres and do like 100 metres in 11.4 and give them a shirt.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Because I'm thinking, who's taught them? The classic example, and I might be talking out of turn, right? And there's no doubt in my mind that he's done the work with them, whoever it is. I watched Northampton and I thought, what are they doing? Every decision they made was the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Squeezing up when the ball hadn't been cleared or the ball hadn't been set back. They were trying to squeeze up. They were trying to hold the line or squeeze up when there was no pressure on the ball. There was third man runs. So like as the opposition's about to make contact, they either held the line or they still kept coming up. So a third man run or a bent run beat them and they was in on goal. So I'm thinking it's just like the total antithesis of defending. Who taught them? You know what I mean? So where Jose's concerned, I think he's had a few stewards' inquiries publicly, and I can see as an ex-manager, I can see as a player, and I can see as an intelligent football person, he's throwing out little veiled messages, and he's in a win-win situation.
So you think he'll be back? You think he'll manage another top side again?
Well, I mean, that was the question. I think
because he's failed at 2 clubs now.
Well, he says in the advert, doesn't he, when he's taking the piss about Man United, is coming second really a failure? When he took them over, they were like whatever, like 5th, 6th, 7th, and he took them to second behind. Listen, it's not their fault. It's not Guardiola's fault and his staff, and it's not the players' fault. But you're talking about like a state-backed football club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is that failure?
That's a fair point. Yeah, it's a fair point. And he won
Europa League.
Yeah. Sorry, Europa League. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that was the end of the world. I mean, the things I've heard some nonsense, about Spurs sacking him so that he weren't able, if he won the League Cup, he weren't able to say, look, I won you a trophy. You know what I mean? All sorts of nonsense being bandied about.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what'll happen now. I think, in answer to your question, because I've gone long-winded again, I think he will get another job. I think it depends on him what he does, because it's all about your contacts.
Yeah.
And therein lies a lot of people, personal questions to me by direct message or on Twitter. Can't you apply for this? Can't you apply for that? Can't you do this? It's all about, Joe, it's all about contacts. And I never ever built up a portfolio of contacts. As for doing business with agents, I tried once because I can't stand agents. And I might have told this story before. Probably one of the most petulant footballers who ever laced on a pair of boots. David Speedy said, I can't do anything for you. He said, I think the Channel 4 documentary done you like a kipper, John. He said, I don't think I'll be able to represent you. I said, all right, okay. I'm just wondering if you'd say the same thing to David Pleat or Graham Ricks. I just said, don't worry about it. And I put the phone down.
That's still a chow, yeah. He's obviously got good connections.
What's that about? What's that about the kid, Ryan Mason? What's that about?
Yeah, 29. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you got Ledley. I think he's going to be his assistant. But, another potential black manager overlooked. I mean, we can obviously unpack that a bit more on a more dedicated podcast regarding
what Ledley.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
You want my opinion on it? Because I knew him for 2 years as a kid at Leyton Orient. I taught him everything he knows in terms of basics. He was a magnificent player. He was already a good size. He was a fantastic listener, a fantastic trainer, and highly intelligent footballer. probably amongst the lads, as he got more established and he got more experience, he came out of himself, but he always struck me as very shy.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to be a manager and a coach, and you're going to be a decent manager and a decent coach, it's only my very personal opinion, but I think that you can be understated. But at the same time, there's got to be times when you've got to be a little bit extrovert and have a bit of charisma and a bit of personality about you that's capture someone's attention. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know Ledley as an adult. I only knew him as a kid, but he never struck me as a type of person who would be very
gregarious or outgoing.
Gregarious, outgoing, extrovert, charismatic.
It's going to be interesting to see if Ryan Mason's like that. I mean, he's 29. It's very young to be managing a perceived decent Premier League side with elite level players like Harry Kane in the side. He used to be one of their teammates. He was a lower level teammate. He got shipped out. I know he got that bad injury, but he wasn't good enough to play for Spurs. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he's got that extrovert touch and gregariousness to justify the position, because it's a major call. He's managing in the final of the Carabao Cup. It's not just a couple of games into the season which are meaningless. He's got some big games coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I had a brief look, Joe, at his CV earlier on. Someone sent it to me, and he was being shipped out on loan here, there, and everywhere as a young player to help his development. 2 of those loans were at 2 of my previous clubs, Millwall and Leyton Orient. And like you say, ultimately, he weren't good enough for Spurs. I think they sold him to Hull when Hull were bottom end of the Premier League type of club. And the rest is history. He clashed heads at Chelsea, and he got the fractured skull, and he was advised to retire. Rightly so, because nothing's more important. I've come to know that when you come out of football, there's a lot more to life than living in that sort of insular football bubble. Like I was saying, it was all part of the argument with the European Super League and pals and people coming backwards and forwards yesterday. And I said about the genie being out of the bottle, and you're being as hypocritical as the rest of us. Because if they offered me a job, I'd jump at it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I said, you subscribe to Sky. Well, and my mates had season tickets over the Arsenal, and I think they got whatever the deal they got. They were giving like $3-4 grand a year, but they said since we packed it up, we stopped going. I said, why? They said just like the match experience was costing too much money. By the time you drive there, you pay to park, or you've got to park miles away and walk from Market Road down to the stadium. You have a couple of pre-match pints, or a bottle of wine and a spaghetti bolognese, or a bit of breakfast and then a few pints. Then you buy your match day program. Then you go and have a few more pints in the ground. Then you get up at half time and they want like silly money for an hot dog, and then a couple of more pints. Then after the game, don't want to sit in traffic. Let it all dissipate and disappear. We'll stop and we'll have another drink after the game, and maybe go on and have a session. Do you know what I mean? And it was costing them £200 every home game. So he said, I'd rather go and watch me boy play with the kids at Watford. He was with Watford under 13s. So that's what they did. They packed it up. They all gave their season ticket in. Right. Yeah. So when you look at it like that, I'm looking at it, I'm saying to myself, I don't know. I mean, this Super League thing.
Boston Rover. While you're thinking of it, Stuart Patton emailed in, who's one of your Twitter followers, and had a question, sort of unrelated to what we're talking about, but actually about giant killings. And he was saying there's a massive giant killing that happened up in Scotland, where he was from, and wanted to know if you'd ever played or managed in games that were considered a giant killing, and if so, how do they happen? Is it tactics, motivation, or is it just a perfect storm of a number of variables? Quick 5 minutes on that.
Yeah, no, I think it's all of the above. It's all of the above. I mean, I played in a couple that could be perceived as decent performances. Like I said, played Everton in their heyday in the 80s when they were winning the FA Cup, football, like the league, European Cup, Winners' Cup. And we got a very respectable at Gillingham, very respectable 0-0 at Goodison Park, and we got a very respectable 0-0 after extra time at Priestfield Stadium, although we should have won it. I put Tony Cascarino with a clearance clean through, 1-on-1 with Neville Southall, and he openly admits in his book that he closed his eyes and just kicked it, and it hit Neville Southall's legs. The rumour was after that game, if they lost it, Howard Kendall was going to be sacked. So Cascarino shut his eyes. Neville Southall saved it. Howard Kendall kept his job. And Everton won trophies 3 years on the bounce. So that would go down as a decent performance. Giant killings, we couldn't achieve the giant killing because there was an away leg. Leyton Orient v Spurs, we beat them 2-0. And I was, first 2 minutes, I got a yellow card because I cleaned John Chidozie. He spun me on the halfway line. We'd basically pushed up too close to the halfway line with no pressure on the ball. And he spun in and it got clipped in, and I just turned and got after him and took him out, got a yellow card. Then I was man of the match after that. I never put a foot wrong through 88 minutes. We won that 2-0. But the downside was there was a second leg. So we went to White Hart Lane and a few boys froze, and they shit their jock straps, and we got hammered 4-0. No, for me, it was lovely to play in a big game again. Crystal Palace again, 0-0 at Selhurst Park with Wright and Bright up front in it. Ian Wright never had a shot. It was me, Whitbread, and Keith Day. I was a sweeper, so sweeping is all about gauging your depth and bossing everybody and organising. And they had a pop at me because they said who's that Maffey cunt at the
Larry
back?
Bastard, yeah.
Well, I just dug him out, Andy Gray, because he dug me out first because I dug out the centre back, the only monster who played for Wimbledon, just a fucking useless. He went on to manage Coventry, I think. He smashed through the back of Lee Harvey. So I'll give it first 2 minutes. Referee, come on, get a grip on it straight away. Don't allow that, because I knew Harvey would shred him. He had too much pace for him. So Andy Gray started on me. I had a pop back at Andy Gray. Then you know what happens. They all gang up on you. So then I turned around and reared up at a few of them. But anyway, I've forgive and forget, went to shake hands. He just turned his back on me and jogged off. Very bad loser. And ironically, went on to play for George Graham, who said we should conduct ourselves humble in victory, dignified in defeat. And although it wasn't a defeat, for him it was a personal defeat because he never had a shot in 3 games.
Just a very quick question. Was there ever straighteners that happened after the game? Did it ever descend into that? Because obviously in amateur football where I played, it was always talk, and it never really, there's a couple of things, but no, it never really happened. But did that ever happen in Premier League, in professional football?
Yeah, only once, and I got left out. I had a ruptured Achilles. I was coming back from a ruptured Achilles. We had an home game to Brentford, and another one, lucky to get a living out of the game in terms of like technical ability. The kid, he was a coach at Palace. He was caretaker manager for it. Keith Millen. He went over.
Oh yeah. He played for Watford as well. Yeah.
He went over the top on because he was a big boy. He went over the top on Stevie Castle in the centre circle. So there was a big coming together of all the players because he could have broke his leg. And then it carried on. It broke up. Then it carried on. Then it broke up. Then it was a bit of play. Then another tasty challenge went in. Then the referee blew for half time. And I'll come down just to make sure, get all the lads in the dressing room as captain, club captain and team captain, although I was out injured. Frank Clark come running past me and he just went to Millen, you fucking dirty bastard. And he went crack and he chinned him.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, that was the manager. Yeah.
Wow.
And then me and Frank Wolf got hold of Frank to pull him away and get him in to keep him out of trouble. And then it kicked off again. Yeah. So I felt very left out.
Yeah.
But that was the only time it really happened. That thing. Millwall, it never happened. Because when people played at the Den, they, how can I put it? There was a few that, they kept stum. There was a few that showed out, but if we're going to get out of here alive or get back on the coach in one piece, we better keep our trap shut. Because you didn't even have to think. A supporter would have jumped over. If it had kicked off, a supporter would have jumped over. Don't worry about that. Yeah. Chelsea, Chelsea, there was a few, but that was in, actually led to me getting sent off. There was one thing in the football combination. And we started the game really well. We was popping it around, passing and movement was top draw. We took an early lead 1-0. There was a midfield player by the name of Jimmy Clare, close mate of mine at the time. We drifted apart. But a carbon copy of him now is Billy Gilmore. He even runs like him. But back in them days, because a lot of coaches, they're just, we've got to go with this. So they went with the honey monster, great athlete, 6'2", built like a brick shithouse. Jimmy was perceived as too small, right? And he was running the game. So it was like little ones round the corner, give and goes, nutmegged a couple of people, and he called it. And nice. Someone come in, cut him in half, and it all kicked off. And Geezer went on to play for Tranmere, Jim Harvey. So he's megged him. Paul Davis, he's took the piss out of a couple of times. It kicked off again. And then I stayed out of it because what it was, I was playing right back on the day. And I was in and out the first team in both positions, centre half and right back. And I spotted the ball to take a quick free kick, and it's in my book actually. An Arsenal player run past and gobbed at me. So the ref blew the half-time whistle. I've gone in, and then we come out for the second half. And as they kicked off, I just launched myself at a player, and it weren't the player who gobbed at me, but it's just any Arsenal player would have done. And I got a straight red card. So then all their bench tried to get at me, and that's my experiences of it kicking off. With regards to the giant killings, what he said, he's asked us the question.
Yeah.
It's like, it's from a personal point of view, it was the motivation of playing in a big game again. Do you understand what I mean? You know, playing like your Evertons and even in pre-season friendlies, West Ham and Arsenal. And then like playing in cup games, your Evertons, your Tottenhams, even Palace. And just basically to try and show that you basically weren't a mug.
Yeah.
And that you flirted with the top level, and maybe you should have had a longer stay there. You know what I mean? So regardless of what tactics are put on, I would say, with regards to what he said about the perfect storm, part of the perfect storm is normally consists of some players raising their game.
Yeah, you don't want anyone to freeze, obviously. So if you've got 11 players all thinking they should have been playing at that level, all raise their game, then I suppose that's when things happen, isn't it?
Yeah, well, at home we won 2. At home, Joe, we won 2-0. And to be fair, we were more than a match for Spurs. And Kevin Godfrey, who'd been a perennial underachiever, came through the ranks at Leyton Orient. He shredded Chris Hughton and scored, I think, 1 from a penalty, 1 from open play, 1 from a penalty. Paul Shinners, we got from Gillingham, who got him from non-league, Fisher Athletic. He was up against Robertson Miller. He's bashing them about as much as they bashed him about. And midfield, we had a good matchup. We had Brooks and Owls. So the Palace educated Brooks under Venables and Cartwright. Owls, who was a good Chelsea first team player until he got a diabolical knee injury, up against other one our dealers. And then I pitched in with my little bit. I had like Waddle and Shadozy up front. And ex-Tottenham player Pat Corbett, he marked Chris Waddle out of the game. I did my bit at centre-back. So it was like pretty decent performance all round. But then you go to the thing, you go to White Hart Lane, and too many players froze on the night.
Yeah.
They froze on the night. They shit their jockstrap, yeah.
All right, John, let's call it a day. Interesting chats. We'll be back to normal from next week. And hopefully everyone enjoyed the session. And yeah, comments, feedback, like, subscribe, share. As always, please feed in, and we'll keep it going, John.
Absolutely. Good to have you back.
Cheers, mate.
And I dare say the people that subscribe and watch us, they feel the same, because they were saying last week, what's happening with Joe? Where is he? Why is there no podcast? Yeah. So hopefully we've compensated for the fact that there wasn't one last week.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just to reiterate that little bit of thing, that little bit of conflict, it's because I want people to know that we don't always, we're not here to sort of pat each other on the back and blow smoke up each other. You know what I mean?
No, this what it's, yeah, exactly. Of course. All right, guys. All right, nice one. See you later, everyone. Cheers.
Good night, all. Thank you.